Ayoba, Ayabibi, Ayoboba, Isimi, Kito, Osalafatino, Shirkinamahura. And God says the many horrors that are about to come are many ways in which God's judgment descends. And God giveth no man to know the way that anything comes. For the Lord thy God said to all men, no warning shall be given unto you. There are many things that God showed man that man did not understand. And in all the ways man understood not the things of God, he says God works in mysterious ways. And God gave man to say these things because God wanted man to know that there are many mysteries of God that will not be known to men, cannot be known to men, because man did not walk in the faith of God. And unless man walks in the faith of God, he has no way of knowing the true God. And in every way we have said to you, tell them they have found many false gods. They have found false gods. Because the false gods represents all the ways in which God manifests in different ways to show man that unless you wait for God to teach you how God can be the true God, you cannot know God. And so men went saying, I know God, I serve God, I love God. And God asks them, which God are you serving? Now no man can tell God which God he is serving. In all the many calamities and natural disasters and the many constructions that man perpetrated on earth, it is the way God showed man, why God warned man that there is a side to God that man does not know. Men went saying, this man did this, these nations did this, and these are terrible. And God said, yes, to an extent that is true. But don't forget that everyone came here to serve the purpose of God. And God can choose whoever or which nation God wishes to choose in order to demonstrate aspects of God that had not been known to men. And everyone forgot that your God told them God is the giver of all things. No man can give himself anything. No nation can give themselves anything. For these are the ways of God that were told to man, that if man would listen, and he doesn't listen, he would come to understand what God told them. There is nothing other than God. There's nothing in the world that can ever be in the world except God. And when God manifests as all these things, God wanted everyone to understand that whatever you see is the way God said, I am that I am that I am. We give you to teach the children because the children had lost sight of knowing how God manifests in each and everything. And because the children of God went astray, they had not found a way to know how God exists as them and how they exist as God, because they lost the true knowledge of your God. Everywhere in this world, man says, I fear what this one is doing, and I fear what that one is doing. And God told man, fear ye God, fear ye God. Because man can do nothing to you, because man is a creature that has found himself in the lowest form of vibration, in the lowest part of God's creation. And when God told you, place your faith in God, that is what God means. No man can manifest anything from himself except God giveth it to be manifested. And when you have found your faith in God, you would know that whatever any man says he will do or can do, you know that is not him, because he walks always never in the true knowledge of God, but in the conceit that he is God. And so my children, our children, were lost in this world because they did not wait for your God to teach them how to access that which is in them that would have enabled them to come to terms with that God that is always silent in them. In giving you the way to teach, preach, and teach, and walk and work, we always say to you, tell them too, that your God walks this world like every one of them. Every single person. It doesn't matter whether you be scruffy, whether you be like an invalid, whether you be a rich man, whether you be a poor man, whether you be a beggar man, whether you be a scruff. God the Father, God the Mother walks everywhere like everyone. And we tested man in all these ways. For there were many that we went to, and they chased us and said, "You stink, get away." And there were many that we went and said, we pleaded with them, "Let me have a cup of tea, please." And they chased us. Who didn't chase us slammed the door in our face. And God said, tell them, "How are you going to church? Wherever churches you are, say you're going to. Praising God and loving God and serving God." And that's why God is asking them, which God were you serving and praising? Because man sunk so low in this lower dimension, he found himself always manifesting from himself the nature of every single beast that your God gave to walk among man. Everyone. And no man understood why God told them they were marked in the number of the beast. You carry the nature of a beast in you. For when you can destroy yourselves, destroy other species, destroy an earth that is your home, you are nothing but the lowest form of beast. And everyone sees what is happening, and no man stops to contemplate for a while. Is this really what God created a world for us to live in, for us to do? If we are like God, why do we behave in all these despicable ways when the only injunction God gave us was to love one another and do good? Love one another and do good. Our son, this whole world has not only gone the wrong way, it has turned itself upside down. And in turning itself upside down, it has turned the lives of many inside out. Everyone is divided against every other one. Everyone goes for self, no one goes for everyone. And it doesn't matter what your God told them, they still did not understand. Be your brothers and your sisters' keepers. Everything that you have found here, nothing belongs to you. It belongs to the God that created it and you. And you will tell them, I came to several of you. I tested you in all the ways that you would know. And many of you did not know. It wasn't I who came to you. It was God who came in me, in you. And God showed many of you that whenever you needed anything and you didn't know where to turn to, God sent God in someone to deliver you. And that is why you sang, God is my only helper. All these things that man does today, in every way that he does it, shows man that he went against the divine order of God. God said, man got eyes, but he still doesn't see. As low as the beasts of the fields are, and they always would remember that what man did not remember. God did not give them to set up any institutions nor to rule over anyone or everything. God said, you must tell man, you all think you're smart, you think you're wise, you think you're educated, you think you're intelligent. And the reason the beast wasn't given to speak is because they want to tell you all you're walking like donkeys because you don't know this God. Because the beast was once like every one of you. And when God distorted them and changed them up and made them to look the way they are, God made them dumb so that they cannot speak and tell you how it is that they came into existence in this form. And God said, you see, son, We always tell them, y'all got eyes, but you don't see. When you look at birds, God says, they go anywhere. They know when to leave when danger is coming, and they can go anywhere. And God tells them that, like the creatures of the deep, they can migrate to any part of this earth. They don't need a visa. They don't need anybody to tell them how many of them can come in and who can't come in. And God said, look at man. This world is the house of God. This whole earth is man's home. And God asked them, tell me something. When someone lives in your home with you, would they need a visa to move from one room to the next? Because this whole earth is God's house. Every country is a room of God in God's house. And if God gave everybody to dwell in God's house, because that is what you sang, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord thy God forevermore. Who else but God can tell you where, how, and when to go in God's house? So you have made men your gods. You have made men your gods. And all these unholy institutions that they set up, that they call schools and churches and ministries and all sorts of names they give to them, these are not what God gave to anybody, because God did not give anyone to hold superintendence over anyone. God did not give any nation to hold superintendence over any other nation. And every one of you went saying, this nation is great and this nation is mighty. And God said, look at you. You didn't say God is great and God is mighty. And God knows all the ways to silence you and every single one that says they are great and mighty. I have said to many of you time and time again, you shall see the transformation of man into beast before your very eyes, and you will. But when God told you the beast ruled, you didn't understand what God told you. Even though their outward appearance is that which is of you, they carry within them the spirit of a beast. And that is why they behave in a beastly way. But because your third eye, which is your spirit eye, contrary to the nonsense that many says it is in the forehead and all sorts, God said you're foolish. Because you didn't understand the way God speaks, you didn't understand what God means by what God says. Your third eye is the spirit eye. It sees what the seen eye cannot see. It is the unseen eye. And that unseen eye, because it can see what you cannot see, it is the all-seeing eye. But your eyes will see. For many of you who are God's chosen, God will lift the veil so that your spirit eye may show you what your physical eye cannot show you. And you will behold the wonders of God in all the ways that God giveth, that you behold the greatness of God. Many of you have doubted yourselves because you did not remember that God told you, you are the true children of God. And many of you went along saying, we are all one family. God said, you're not one family. Do you look like everybody else? You're always never recognizing the God of greatness that is within you. It doesn't matter what they take from this world. Because God said to you all, all of you suddenly you're praying and say, God, could you let me have this? Could you let me have that job? Could you give me that? And you didn't get it. And you know why you didn't get it? Because none of these orders that you set up here was of God. It went contrary. It went contrary to the divine order of God. Why would God give you something to perpetuate something that has went against the sacred and divine order of God? Y'all don't understand why you didn't get these things. And some of you don't know why it is that it didn't happen for you. And you start questioning God. You didn't question yourself. Everything that man has done in this valley of death demonstrates to every one of you all the ways that man went against the sacred and divine order of God. That's why God said, I went the wrong way. You went the wrong way. And darkness covered you up. And the darkness that covered you up is the evil and ignorance and the falsehood and deceits that wrapped itself around everybody. So much so that you can't even see the truth. Because every falsehood that you were given, you accepted it as truth. Because the truth could not be where all these despicable things lie. To work with God is to be with God. To be with God is to be in God. As we are in you, so are you in us. And every way that you are the way, so will it be with the children of God. For they must know that God is within them. God is not outside of them. And in finding God within themselves, they will not only come to be at one with God, they will come to know the way of the true God. To be the light is to send forth the wisdom of God, from God to you and from you to the children. That in gaining access to God's divine wisdom, the children will come to also recognize that the word light means mights of God. And the might of God is hidden in each and every one of the children of God. But they know not how. You will teach them how. Because when God sent them forth, God said, let there be light. And that light meant, let there be the might and power of God that goes with you. So that every way that the children of God went, they were able to be masters of all things that they were given to survey. And they couldn't remember any of these things because your God shut down the mights in them, and they find themselves helpless. In every way you will teach and preach, you will also show them the way to access their inner lights, because it is within them as it is within you. And because the children of God knew not how to do it, they could no longer overcome the evil of evildoers on earth. So you will teach them. You will teach them. Let those who have ears to hear, let them hear. For everywhere they looked for saviors, they found nothing but deceivers, and still cannot know why in all the ways they found and called upon all their deceiving saviors, they remain prisoners in a valley of death. In a huhari iresepitico, in a tinala la caratondo sikirimbangandada, ibradano separati situndolo caratanda secarando con moncoragantis carantungunganda. The time has come, O son, and we send you in all parts of this earth to teach and to preach and to bring the salvation of God to the children of God. He gave you to liberate the children of God from the evils of this world and to set them on the path to true enlightenment in the true knowledge of the true God.